Well, it's June 8th. Welcome to our monthly community chat with Sunny Carl. Um, Thank you for being here. This week, we are going to be discussing what does it mean to hold the charge for birth as a father in honor of Father's Day next weekend. Um, I'm David Foyle. With me is Sol Santos, Sunny Carl, and this talk's really just mostly a discussion from our own experience about what we've learned and how we interpret this training and these experiences in our lives and what we learned about showing up as the divine masculine, as a representation of the divine masculine, and how that translates into a birth space, what that means. So I guess Sunny or Sol, do you guys have anything you'd like to start with? A personal introduction. Sol, since it's your first time joining.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I am Sol Santos, and I actually met David and Anastasia, it was like almost 3 years ago now,
Yeah.
when my wife and I just happened to stumble upon this town called Ashland, Oregon. And it was actually divinely orchestrated. We didn't know that. We didn't feel it until later. But David and Anastasia have been such a pinnacle point of our life and such support. And me walking into this new idea of sacred birthing or any kind of holistic or more conscious way of living about life is very new to me. And so as I'm so happy that I have people who can reflect back to me some of the things that I actually believed myself in my heart. Does that make sense? Like I really believed it deep down inside, but with the way that the world kind of molds you and the stories and the programming from TV and society, you don't. I didn't realize that I had more control or empowerment or you know more of a role in my family's life like I know now. And so I'm very happy that I get to be a part of this because I was very unconscious about how things were, and I just followed everybody else's lead in um in regular society. I don't know if it's called regular society, but what society has taught us who the authority is, and really taking it away from the people that need to have the authority, and that's the members of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I feel very, very similar to that. There's so much misrepresentation of a man's role, and in media and society, we're offered these examples that are false, completely false in who we are and who we should be. And that's in a
Yeah,
lot of cases, that's our example for growing up. And we just we carry that forward until we learn something better, a better approach and a better way of doing things. And I think for me, and in the birth of my two children 20 years ago, plus 20 years ago, um, I knew there was something that was the right way or the best way to do things, but I did not have a good example of what that was or how to be that. And it's been years looking back, learning, understanding what I was missing at that point, and learning how to apply it today, and getting a great reflection from Sunny's work in sacred birthing. There's so much there that I knew to be correct in my heart, but didn't know how to stand up for and didn't know how to embody or bring forward in my own life and in my own marriage. And as a father, I did my absolute best like we do, but looking back, I'm like, oh, I missed that opportunity, or
yeah,
um, I wish someone had said this part, this one focus point is very important. Don't miss it. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, thank you.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. One of the things is I just think about like how I was raised and how I grew up. I grew up in church, and we had conventional medicine, in the health field, and we didn't really go. I think this helped. We didn't go to the doctor too much growing up because my parents didn't have a lot of money, and so I realized that a lot of illnesses and things just, your body heals it, right? I realized that our body heals it, and that we actually have more dominion over what's going on within us than we ever thought we did, because we have all these people that um, have been introduced to us as the ultimate authority of these understandings. And then I always relinquish my power to them because they know better than me, right? That's what everybody is telling us, that they know better. They went to school, and
Yeah.
that's how it is. And then when I met Maeve, and she introduced me to this whole holistic way of being, and this spiritual and sacredness of life, and women and birthing, my whole paradigm started shifting, and understanding that we really do have a lot more energetic power and agency um, over our family and our lives. And and the way that I grew up, it was almost like, the men, you just got to stand there and you just take it, and you got to be able to keep taking all the stuff that the women and the children can't take, and you hold it within you, and there's no really any emotional release, for because you're the strong one that has to be the foundation for that. But when Maeve and I had two kids together, right, and both of them at home, and it was the most, oh man, spiritual, sacred, empowering, just, I've never felt so close to someone in my life than I did when we experienced that together. And it's so wild, and my whole body is tingling even telling you this, because I just never understood how much of a role that I played, or that men actually play in these
Yeah.
sacred times of birthing.
Yeah. Yeah, that brings up something I wrote in preparation for today, like trying to organize my thoughts. I got a couple ideas, a couple of concepts down, and what you just said really fits with one of them, I think. So if you just let me read this, apologize for just script reading. Socially, men are taught that only the real exists or holds any value. Science teaches through measuring and quantifying everything, and if it cannot be measured or quantified, it doesn't exist or have any value.
Yeah,
Father needs to understand the immense value of the most subtle actions or non-actions. The subtle realms and the internal landscape are where mother works to birth baby. It is an inward journey for both mother and father. Father helps
mm,
harmonize the field, but can also bring dissonance. So he needs to feel where that disharmony is in himself and work inwardly there to bring resonance with the highest and best. Points of friction are guideposts to the inner work men need to do, and specifically to prepare for the birth and
yeah,
to create that field that's best, highest for the baby, like organized for the baby. And that's
yeah,
definitely stuff that's I've become aware of since my two children were born. And there's concepts I had like home birth, water birth. It's a natural, organic event that's been happening for millennia. There's no need to medicalize it. In fact, I'm wholly against trying, like just, blanket medicalizing anything. I think in a lot of cases, most cases that can be a big mistake. But in other sense, like both my children ended up cesarean, and I attribute that now to neither my wife or I knowing how to do work, having done any inner work, really being afraid, working a lot through fear of what could happen, or not knowing, just not knowing or trusting ourselves. And I'm so curious to know if we had been more conscious and more present, if we could have taken that a different direction. And
yeah.
Those are several concepts
Yeah,
all wrapped up that are bouncing around in my head for weeks now.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I remember Anastasia was always telling me like it's so important the role that we play in the whole man, just even in our family in general, the role that we play. I think sometimes we're like because we're the protector, we're put up over here over the family unit and we're on the outside looking in at like how everything should develop and we kind of go hands off when it comes to the intricate plays with the children, and
Yeah,
it's almost like because our emotion us in our emotional state is like we got to be stoic and when we say hold the container, what does that mean? That means
yeah,
that they get to do all the movement within the container and we got to hold it out here and be the stern, steady, solid walls, and really inside is there's a lot of stuff bubbling up. And I think that with sacred birthing and I see it, it's important to try to get this out there to more men, you know, to more men and families that so that they understand that they're an integral part of the family unit and the birthing and the especially because we're energetic creatures and whatever energy that surrounds the event or the birthing or whatever energy that is what's creating everything that we're experiencing. And
yeah,
so if when you were saying in what you're reading, like the things that need to be integrated with us or healed within us, otherwise, I get it because that blocks the actual flow of what's going on when it hits those different parts, and all of a sudden you contract instead of
yeah,
being able to be open and receiving and like because we're the ones receiving in the moment of birth from what that video you were talking about, and I understand that because usually it's the other way around where the woman is receiving, but
yeah,
this time they're the ones giving us the life and we receive it and we got to have we need just as much emotional and loving care as any woman does, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And I also got to say too, um having you and Anastasia at the birth with Hawk was amazing. It was so amazing because you are a strong, solid man, and May felt very secure with you there, and I felt as a man the brotherhood of you being there and supporting me in ways that allowed me to be there. I'm almost tearing up talking about it. Allowed
yeah,
me to be present in the birth, and I really, whew, that there is amazing. So it's not only the man I feel in the birth that's important. It's also the camaraderie of other men that have that strength and that knowing and that foundation and that solidarity. And you brought that, and I really appreciate that you did that because it gave me the chance to be, more of actually a softer man during this period of time to be in tune with what was
yeah.
going on during the birth.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that experience was transformational for me and so relates to what we're talking about today, in some of the ways that I missed that opportunity in my own the birth of my own children. Um, the opportunity to be there for you guys was incredible. It was such an honor, and it gave me that chance to explore those parts that I felt like I didn't have or hadn't activated until now, until recently in my life. And so that experience, the chance to just be in the field, to just be selfless, do what needed to be done, show up, hold space, like those things, those words, that created such a new fulfillment to those concepts for me to get to experience it firsthand and to get to see where, we have these concentric positions that we hold for each other and in that family unit and you guys being the core at that moment, Hawk and then you two and Aspen right there as well, Anastasia the
Yeah,
midwife and me getting to hold this little bit larger circle in there. Um, well, it changed me and it was it's going to be hard to like verbalize what I'm
Yeah.
understanding about holding that space. I guess yeah, I'm losing words because it was powerful for me and it was beautiful to be there with you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah. It
not
was
gonna cry.
awesome.
Uh, I guess I'm gonna go back to some of the things I
I
read
love
about
it.
this.
I love that you were there. It was awesome. Yeah.
So what does it mean to hold the charge for birth as a father? One of the first things I wrote down is for me, this is how I define it right now. It's holding a space as the responsible party. It's accepting the right, the responsibility, and the duties inherent in this role that you have created for yourself. It is understanding the importance of your place with mom and baby and choosing to pick up and carry that role. And father's presence is critical for the best and highest of baby and mom. So I feel like that the last sentence, the choosing to pick up and carry that role, like that's one of the things I finally understood about myself was there's a lot of time in my life I questioned who am I? I see these horrible deeds done by horrible people or horrible deeds done by people, and I'm like, how do I know I'm not going to do some sort of terrible, crazy thing? And it frightened me that this was a possibility that people could behave that way, and I didn't understand it, and so I questioned how people land there, and I eventually learned and understood that, well, that's just not my nature. And also, I get to choose every single step of my life. I get to choose who I am. I get to bring this or that energy into the world around me and hold it. And that's what that is. It's understanding in holding the charge. We're understanding we've created this situation. We're responsible for this situation and these people we've involved. And now we have to choose to accept that role and responsibility and do the right things with it, do the best we can with it, and hold it constantly. But it's also, that's not work. It's just life. It's just experiencing and fulfilling and growing. And it's part of our work. And it's what makes us who we are. And that acceptance of those roles and carrying
Yeah.
it makes us stronger, makes us better people and gives us those connections. You were talking about feeling so close to somebody. Like you don't get that without stepping into that role and having that interaction and building that trust. And these are the
Yeah.
concepts like I eventually gained. I'm like, this is my choice. Every moment of every day is a choice to be who I want to be, bring what I want to bring. And like my relationship with Anastasia, I fall in love and make the choice to be in this life every day. It's not once and done. It's every moment of every day. And
Yeah.
through every, these series of choices, we land where we want to be. We step into those roles. We carry it with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that when you said, especially when you said the whole work part, because it's not work. It may take work, but it's not work because when we associate, sometimes we associate responsibility, and when you handle business, it's just business. It's nothing personal. But when you're with your family, it's very personal, and everything is personal, and that's a different type of work and taking up responsibility. And I'm glad you said that because sometimes even myself, I get caught up in this idea that it's almost like a job to take care of your kids, and it's not really a job. It is just life, and
Yeah.
and um, the way that I communicate and handle my kids is very important, and the way even with the birthing, the way that I handle it, the way that I bring the energy that I bring to it is important because that's the type of energy that they're coming through with. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, that's what
Yeah.
they're meeting. They're getting caught. I'm looking them in the face with whatever energy they're coming through the portal with. So I could see even going back to when you said working through the things inside of us that need to be worked on. I can see how important that is in order to open up. They come through the portal, they see us, and they feel the energy way before that even happens. And then uh, and feeling if we're receptive to them coming in or is it such a burden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is it just work? So I can see how important it is for us to really hone in on our own ability and to be open as men.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like the energy we're carrying with us into the conception, the pregnancy, the birth, those are all imprinting the child through the mother and our voice and our just the energy field itself. Those
Yeah,
imprints bring the safety and trust for the child or not. And I can definitely relate to years of carrying anger and frustration with me, and just bringing a sour note to the environment. Even though I was happy to be there or enjoying people around me, I just had carried this sour note, and it took some reflection, some powerful reflection, to understand that I didn't have to do that. I didn't, some things were just tough, and I could carry a different harmony with me, a different frequency, and show up in a different way. And it didn't change anything about what I was experiencing. It just changed the entire field of where I was existing. And
yeah,
in that way, I think I've shifted immensely how I show up for myself, how I show up for other people, and the kind of field I create and bring and harmonize with now. It's been a significant, one of the most significant shifts in my life. Um, and that receptiveness, you brought up the receptiveness of women, the natural feminine reception and the natural male giving, offering. Uh, in conception, that is true, and then through pregnancy it seems to shift and reverse, and then in birth, you mentioned it's the man that's receiving and the woman who's giving birth, and this beautiful completion, complete creation happens through that process. Like it is a
yeah,
completion of that entire cycle to have those roles exchanged and have the other hold these different roles. I It's really a beautiful balance through that whole process. It's pretty fascinating. That's something Anastasia pointed out recently. She was saying, well, it's, dad's receiving the baby this time. Yeah, it's just really seems really deep.
yeah, yeah. And it's like being able to balance that feminine and masculine energy within yourself in order to even be able to, if you're going to have empathy and compassion for somebody, you have to be able to somehow feel them even energetically if you're not doing the very thing that they're doing. We can't give birth, but energetically we can be in tuned in the environment. And I think when you're saying holding the charge, I think that's part of it, where usually, I'll say usually in the when you have a child, you have two people that get together that really love each other and want to be with each other. And obviously you showed up in a way where you guys were attracted anyway, right? So to change that during such a important monumentous time in life and to all of a sudden switch hats and be somebody that you never are, I could see how that could be um even for the energetic frequency of the room at that time, how it could really shift as the child is coming in, because you're not the same person that they felt during the gestation period,
Mhm.
and I can see why even that in the talk when she was talking about, I forgot who it was that we listened to, but if you are the stoic man that stands and just holds that space, hold it like you hold it, or if you're more interactive with it, interact like you interact, because even the mom is expecting you to be you, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then when you go to the hospital and they're pushing it aside, like, no, let us take over. We got this. Boom, boom, boom. And so you during this gestation period, it was just you and her and the baby getting ready to come. And then during the most important time when they're coming through the portal, all of a sudden everybody is shoved aside. And the people that are been most important in the development of that child aren't even there when the baby comes through because
yeah.
their energy has been superseded by all these ideals and beliefs that are now considered modern medicine. And I think that as a society, that I mean, there's like a lot of healing that has to go on with that in order for us to in order for us to get that family unit that back together again. And I think that the only way to really do it is, look, the women have been talking about it in circles for a long time. It's just that the men haven't really stepped into that role yet, like we're doing right now, to communicate the importance of this, because it's as above, so below. So if the family unit is even as close as it needs to be, how is it that society is going to be close to each other anyway? So I think it's something that maybe needs to, like, us doing stuff like this needs to happen more and more often, so people understand what it really represents.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the movements happening that we've seen around the men showing up for men, men holding each other responsible, holding each other accountable. I mean, this is our job, and and the more we do that and exemplify that, the more it's going to happen on a larger scale. But it starts right here with me. I'm not going to
Yeah,
go change somebody else. I'm going to change myself and be an example and an inspiration for somebody else by living a particular way and showing up.
yeah.
And but also on that note, I'd like to read another concept I have um, in regard to like the medical experts, right? Um, as the man and the father of this baby, we have committed ourselves to a new life. It is a beautiful gift and a massive responsibility. There is a desire to protect and defend, to keep baby and mom safe, to do our best. If we allow fear into this process, we might start doubting ourselves or our ability to do our part, which can lead us to give our power away and unnecessarily turn to the medical industry to leave it to the experts. Experts.
Yeah.
Who could possibly be more of an expert on this mother and this baby than the father who is involved, showing up, educating themselves, accepting the responsibility for mother and baby, being accountable for their decisions and actions, staying in honor in their commitments, and who love baby and mother more than anyone else?
Mm,
These imprints are a primary part of father's role and influence on the baby's soul and in the relationship with mother.
mm.
And I very much saw you bring that with the birth of Hawk. Like you guys created such an incredible space and a field. And I know there was like apprehension and doubt. I mean, how could there not be? You're making a
Yeah,
huge step and you're making these s- culturally and socially unacceptable decisions today to not go to the hospital. Like so many people
yeah,
absolutely judge you without knowing anything about it because you
yeah,
didn't go to the hospital. And
yeah,
the facts more support that hospital and medicalized births are far more dangerous than your standard, normal everyday natural birth. Natural being no
yeah,
epidural, natural being no strangers walking through the room every 10 minutes. I mean, how bizarre is this is such a sacred moment, and we have these educated, not to put down a good education, but doctors are not taught the best way to do things. They're taught a very specific, narrow view, approved by the American Medical Association and created by a Rockefeller. Like this is not this is commerce. This is commercialism. It's not
yeah,
medical natural health care in the truest
yeah.
sense. It's been
Yeah.
distorted.
To them, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Well said. Yeah, and it goes to the
yeah,
extreme before any, reasonable adjustments or considerations are offered, and it's scary. And I, at the same time, like I said, both my children are cesarean as well as myself, and so there is a, grain of salt with everything I believe and just said. I was very grateful
yeah,
that there was a medical expert team to show up. And I don't know that the mother of my children could have done it another way, but I suspect that if we had been taught from the beginning about personal inner work, and if we'd been taught practices and had been shown by our parents and peers that this was good, this was okay, this is how you do it, if it was been
mm,
natural, I strongly believe that it would have been a different way. It could have been a different way. And I have no evidence, either way, other than you can go into the statistics and see which processes, which approaches have the best benefits and which ones have the most drawbacks. And I won't go into statistics today. That's for another day, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. What's important is like we're talking about is be so we were educated into thinking that, with the advent of medicine, modern medicine, that they knew better than we did. And what that reminds me of is I remember this one study they did with fleas, and they put them in a jar, and they were jumping and jumping and jumping. They'd only jump as high as the jar went. Then they took them out of the jar and they jumped, and they actually kept the same shape of the jar and just jumped. But the crazy part is their offspring who were never put in a jar only jumped that high. And
wow.
so they sent that transmission down to the offspring, right? So then we're growing in this society believing that we're supposed to be hands off with the birth and then just smoke a cigar when it's all over and high five our buddies or something. And
Yeah.
that's what it is to be a man at a birth. And don't realize how much we're missing the sacredness and the connection and the beauty and the love and the just the miracle that happens during that period of time. We're bringing this life into this earth, this life that is me and my wife. You know what I mean? It's our family, it's our DNA generationally coming in to express itself in whatever manner all of our DNA has culminating to this point, and for some reason, yeah, Rockefellers, all of them, whatever, all these people in control trying to, railroad us into a way of thinking. What they're really doing is robbing us of the essence of who we are. And I think it's important. I mean, even just having this discussion with you, I feel such a drive and desire and ambition to be like, man, we got to get out there, have a
Yeah.
soapbox, and start telling people like you're missing the point.
Yeah.
It's kind of feeling like that the more I talk to you about this, because I feel like a lot of things in society would be rectified if we could just at the beginning be able to hold the container and the energetic frequency for them to come through, and then they'll hold that throughout the rest of their life, because it's planting the very first seed of how
Yeah.
they perceive and the perception of how we're gonna how life is gonna be. So it's it's amazing. It's amazing that and I doubt they do that with their kids, right? The 1%ers, whatever it is, the people that are making all these, and they have the money and the control. And I doubt they're, hey, let's call Dr. John and have him. I'm pretty sure that they know exactly what's going on and how
Yeah.
important it is for us to have this connection during this sacred time in the beginning of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So what does it mean to hold the charge? Like I think that's you said it, like the way the fleas hold pass down this instinctual limitation. I
yeah,
think that's definitely part of our battle is overcoming what we were taught, overcoming what we believe for whatever reason, questioning all those beliefs and limitations and saying, well, what is the best version of me capable of? What is the best situation we can think up? And then where how can we step beyond that? And How many
yeah,
how many of these beliefs do we hand to our children unconsciously? We don't even know that it's a fake limitation. We don't know that there's
yeah,
no jar lid up there. We just automatically through our behaviors and beliefs teach our kids to not even jump. And it's
yeah,
like how do you step out of that construct and and take the power, take your freedom, and really understand what does that mean? What does that mean to show up and be that, to hold that charge? It's in my mind, it's really knowing who we are, knowing the
yeah,
essence of who we are, bringing that,
yeah,
understanding that we're handed limitations every day, and really mulling them over and asking, is this really part of my life? Do I have to adhere to this restriction, or is it just there for some, my detriment and somebody else's benefit? And does that
yeah,
even really matter? I just I'm not going to have any part of that particular restriction. I'm going to allow the absolute best growth and potential I can. And
Yeah, yeah. I think that's important. That introspection. We're looking so far. You know, um, what's interesting is that when you have the flight, fight, or freeze, you know, you're looking outside for all the answers because you're afraid of what's going to happen to you on the outside, and so
yeah,
you're kind of so in tune with what's going on out here and not in tune with what's going on in here. And I think that if we were more to, if we could shut the noise down of everything outside, especially during important events in our life, like birthing and being able to hold the charge, I think we already have all the knowledge that we need inside to be able to do the right things that are necessary in that moment of time. You know, and even when with Maeve and I with our first birth with Aspen, and she wanted to go do it in a cabin where there's nobody. You know, it's just, we didn't even have running water. You know, you know, we had an outhouse. I don't even like that without kids, much less when we're gonna birth for kids. You know, so then, but it was me because I was insecure about things. I was like, look, I'll do the home birth, but we got to have people around. You know, and so then we did have it at her aunt's house, and it was. But what was crazy is while everything was going on, I realized I was shedding so many beliefs that I held about birth during this new advent of birthing, you know,
yeah,
and it was just wild. It was almost like this dichotomy of two aspects of myself splitting apart, and I literally was just throwing the one part away and opening up as the birth was happening, more and more of myself. Man, it's bringing me tears. More and more of myself to be present during the whole thing, and it's
yeah,
almost like everything slowed down, and it would at moments all there was this energetic resonance, even though it was the breathing, the walking, the moaning, the everything. All there was like this energy that I felt, and I felt so in tune with what she was going on, and holding the charge. I'll give you an example of holding the charge in that one. When she was pushing, and she was pushing from her head, you know, she's like, ah, and I was like, oh, I was like, babe, I think you gotta go down to your chest more. You know, it's gotta come from a deeper place. And then when she did that, then she felt, because it was so stuck for so long because she was still pushing from her head. And
oh
then I
yeah,
told her like, hey, I think you need more heart, more gut, more of yourself into it. And when that happened, then more movement started happening. And so I never birthed before, but I was so in tune with what was going on that I could feel deep down inside that that was hindering the progression of the birth. You know, and that's to me, I think when we read about holding the charge, like one of the aspects of that during birth.
I think that's a perfect example. I think that's beautiful. I think you embody that and experience that and just explained it very well. And
Thank
it's a sense, it's a feeling. It's not something you can explain to somebody. It's something you kind of have to experience and just
yeah,
trust trust yourself to have the experience and trust that when you're having the experience that it's real. It
yeah,
is not necessarily measurable or quantifiable, but there is a quality to
yeah,
it that is undeniable. So,
yeah. Do you mind? There's one other thing I was going to say about the whole when you're in the hospital thing. It's weird. You said all these strangers coming in the birth. They weren't there when we were conceiving, you
that's
know. But
right.
then all of a sudden we welcome on in. Oh, come on in. You know, if they were there when we were conceiving, we could have charged them. Then in the hospital they charge us. Wow. But
That's
yeah.
it's
Anyway.
so true. Yeah. That's a bizarre fact. Like with the whole process, start to finish, like we get to the end and we hand the whole gift off to somebody else to experience. And that is, when you frame it that way, it's such a bizarre concept.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And I guess going back to Hawk's birth, I got to experience holding this space for you guys, like just
Yeah.
leaving myself out of it. There was no there was no ego, there was no me. It was a chance to be selfless, to let all my responsibility and needs set it all down and fill this role and hold this
Yeah.
space and just feel the energy in the room, feel the energy in the house and 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 bring it in and expand it out. Just,
Yeah.
spread it, create a bigger energy with the exact same energy,
Yeah.
just expand. And that was an incredible experience. Like, you can talk about it, but until you experience it and do it and get through it and come back and be like, okay, yeah, I did that. I felt it. I
Yeah.
saw the results and I
Yeah.
was part of that. Then
Yeah.
that's real. That's true. That's that subtle energy, that subtle experience that is so critical, so real, actually, and
Yeah.
possibly more powerful than the real world measurable effects of doing things.
Yeah. That's interesting because I was thinking about you guys were a team, you and Anastasia. And so it's very interesting that you were at our birth. So me and Maeve were a team in here doing, and Anastasia would come in whenever needed. And then you guys were such a team holding this perimeter, and I think about it all the time. Like I wouldn't have had it any other way, you know,
Yeah,
and it wasn't even necessarily 100% planned that way, but it happened the way it needed to. And Hawk must have known it needed to happen that way and called it in for it to be
yeah.
like that. So, so I think even then, I don't even think we had water then, huh? Here, isn't that
Nope.
crazy? We didn't have any water here when that happened. And
Yeah,
so it's
yeah, it was-
wild that I was worried about the cabin birthing with no water, but then it happened anyway. Hawk was like, "All right, we're going to show you what's up." Yeah,
yeah, we filled your bathtub with a pump out of a 55-gallon drum out the
yeah,
window.
I remember that.
That was an interesting process. It was a
Yeah,
great
it was
experience.
amazing, amazing.
Yeah,
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 Highlight of life.
it was.
yes,
Yeah, I'm
it
so
was
grateful for
amazing.
that. It fulfilled parts of my experience that I felt like I missed, um and it gave me a great experience of showing up as a man in your life, Soul, and for Maeve, and for Hawk and Aspen. I got to hang out with Aspen
Yeah,
quite a bit and just make snacks and play, or it was just a treat. It was just a treat, and what a freeing experience to just let I didn't have any problems show up there. It was me showing up
yeah,
in this role. It's really powerful to set all that stuff down and do something for somebody else for a while. It's
yeah,
a significant experience. So,
yeah. It's amazing. I think everybody should go through. I feel like this. Everybody
and
should really go through that because they never, like you said, it's almost like there's not enough words in this language, at least, to really explain the profoundness of what happened during that period of time. It's even thinking back to it, I can feel how much more like I'm saying the words, but it doesn't give it justice to what it actually felt like, you know, and it just brings everybody so much closer together, and you realize the holy of all holies of what's going on. You know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, well, gosh, that's really most of what I had set aside as concepts to share.
yeah.
Uh,
And we could just shoot from the hip.
yeah.
Sonny, did you have anything you? I didn't know if you were trying to say some stuff a couple of times.
It was wonderful to hear you guys because I work so much with the inner work of the moms, and that creates a smoother pregnancy, but it also creates a much smoother labor. And to do the inner work in pregnancy is just like the only way to go now that I know this. And it's nice to hear that the inner work of the father is exactly what it takes to show up and to hold that space and to really be there without having those bubbles of anger or discord, coming up. But you guys even do that in business. If there's problems, you hold the space. And if there's a car accident, you can hold the space, but it comes not from a, a process of learning. It really does come from doing that inner work.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that fits with my experiences. It took me years after my children were born to begin to understand what inner work is
Mm.
and what it looks like, and have examples from really quality men around me, safe, uh, heartfelt brothers, holding space for me, which of course teaches me how to do that for others. And it's not like I didn't know that was possible. It's that I didn't know that it was a thing important. I didn't know what it was called, and I didn't know it was an important act for us, being the human being holding space rather than the human doing trying to fix something.
Mm.
And that's such a
Mm.
powerful shift in approach for me. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that is amazing. Okay.
I hope you guys talk to any pregnant father you see, because that's so necessary. They don't realize that how important having another man is to go to when you say, "Oh my God, I'm going crazy with this. What did you do when you were a dad?" You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary to try to trust other men too, as a man, and you see the world in shambles the way it seems sometimes, and you're like, well, that's a lot of mostly men doing that. So, or what we perceive to be men doing that, what are held up and exemplified as the men. And it's like, well, no, that behavior is not becoming of a man. Real men treat each other different, treat the world different than that. The actions look
Immature.
very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that did bring, when you said have men come in and be able to support it. In Aspen's birth, um Maeve's uncle came to me one time, was like, "Hey, I was sitting outside by myself, like really feeling, like, whew, man, this is a lot going on." And he just came out there and he was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was
Good.
like, "What? Huh? What? What do you mean? How am I doing?" Yeah, he was like, "No, for real, a lot of attention goes to the mom and the baby, but I know you're in here doing everything that you're doing. And so how are you feeling?"
Good.
And I couldn't even, the automatic response, "Oh, I'm good," you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really,
Fine.
I was overwhelmed and I'm tired and like, oh, I hope everything went well, and I'm worried about Maeve and how she really did. How does she really feel? And there's things that were going on in the birth that that we're afraid, like she tore, and I was like, oh my God, I hope that's not, and things that I don't know because I don't know. So then it's all just up in the air, like just somewhat scary, even though I know deep down everything works out, but it's still in the moment, it can be a scary situation. And so then to have, that's why I'm glad you were there. I'm glad you were here, David, because I already know you're like that. And you care, and you're, and you can just feel it. You don't even have to say nothing. You're always just, it seems to me you're more like the doer when it comes to showing that, and everything was just on point with you. And I appreciate that. And so you're right, Sonny. There's a huge need for other men to be supportive in that way with other men, so they know, hey, I see you,
Mhm.
and I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you guys. That was really important for a lot of men, and I hope everybody that signed up for this listens and shares it with their man.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
post this on my Facebook if possible. Have everybody be able to see it and be like, this is important stuff here.
Good, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
absolutely. Yeah, it'll be on the site. Just send them to the site, and it's available.
Yeah. It's amazing. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. It's so amazing. it was very healing, honestly, to go back through this again.
Yeah,
Remind me.
lots of goosebumps.
Yeah,
That
I didn't cry
was
yet.
awesome. Yeah, yeah, it was close. Couple.
Yeah, yeah, it was writing up these concepts. I was like tearing up a little bit. Um, yeah, I had my dad actually, both my kids' births. He was living with us at the time and helping us sort of fix up the house, and he was very much an integral part in through the labor and just being present, making the house nice. It really brought us closer together in a new way. That was really special to have him so close and part of that. And we just got closer since then, you know. It's been great. Something shifted those days between us. Um, that
Yeah,
needed to shift. I don't know. It must have been like I grew up probably.
but birth is the glue.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely
glue.
was.
Birth and death really glue a family and a community together, and
Yeah,
that's what's been taken away by having it in a medical, model.
yeah.
Yeah,
The like removing our power, giving our power away is something we're encouraged to do. We're compelled to do all the time, and it's risky business. You know, once you give it away, it's really hard to get it back. Get it back. And,
Mm.
and we're not teaching our kids how to hold on to it, how to stay private, how to stay sovereign, how to do things for yourself, or yeah, that's risky business letting that go.
Mm.
But
yeah. It's interesting when you said that. Most people they go to the hospital because there's something wrong. That's why you go because there's something wrong. But you go there to birth like there's something wrong when it's actually just a very natural part of life.
yeah,
So even on that premise that you're going to a hospital that heals or is supposed to tend to things that are wrong with the human body, you're going there for something that just naturally happens with a through the human process. That there's nothing wrong with it.
yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah, it is. It is. You're sort of implying that something's wrong by going.
Just by going,
Yeah.
by being guilty, just by going, just by showing up, by association, guilty by association. Uh,
Well, Sol, thank you so much for showing up for today. This was great to
oh
have
yeah.
you. I
Yeah,
love
it's
you.
awesome. I think it needs to happen more often now that I've been through it here.
Yeah, yeah. I think you have some really important perspectives and insights to share. I really do. I
Thank
always
you. I
learn from
appreciate
you.
that. Thank you. I learn from you too, though, man. All the time. All the time. I just had a birthday, and just like I told him he was there, of course, but I told him like you're one of the. I haven't had a lot of healthy men in my life that really stood as men and still loved and had compassion and
Gent-
able to hold another man when they needed it. You know, and so it means a lot for me to be a part of your life. But yeah, like it's almost making me cry now, the tingles and stuff. Just to have you a part of my life, and I think that's also important with what we're talking about here too. Man, whew, yeah,
Yeah, cool.
I like men that can have emotions.
Yeah,
yeah,
That means they've really done enough to let those flow. And
yeah,
that's how you have that present man that's can take the charge.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Stay present.
Thank you.
Stay present. That's something we touched on a little bit, but staying present is one of those key qualities. It's so necessary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And comes out of the inner work.
Yeah, comes from the inner work.
Yeah.
Well, does that
Thank
feel like a wrap up, guys?
you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you inviting
much.
me. Man.
You really
Thank you,
appreciate
Sonny, for your body of work that's making this possible.
it. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you, Sonny.
You're welcome.
I'm really enjoying the book.
Being kind
I
of
dive
thoughtful,
back in.
both of you. Yeah.
We look forward to the next gathering here in about a month.
Yep.
or one of the others sooner. So thank you guys.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Too. Bye.
Bye.